Good evening, campers, and welcome aboard the Starship Arborea. I'm Commander Exorcist, and it is time, once again, for Talk O Tuesday. This is my weekly Elite Dangerous show where I pick a Galnet article, read it, talk about it, primarily from a lore perspective, but I will break the fourth wall if necessary. It's going to be necessary to break the fourth wall here in the very beginning because there's some things I want to talk about before we get into the article. The article itself today is very small, so I'm not going to just constantly stretch this thing out to make the video longer. I'm going to talk about it. I'll give you my opinion on it, and I think we'll move on. Because there's some in-game things that need to happen in relation to this article. And I think there seems to be kind of a storyline developing with some of this stuff, and as we follow it and move on with the storyline, I think we'll have more to discuss. Excuse me. So, but the other thing I really wanted to mention, and this is the only time I'm going to talk about it because I don't want that to become a central focus of what I do, but I did want to say to face-to-face to my audience and to the community, I wanted to say a huge thank you. I have received an unbelievable number of messages and condolences, and I have read every single one of them, and I am grateful for every single one of them, whether they come from social media, X, Twitter, Blue Sky, from Facebook, or whatever, and then here on the YouTube channel. For those of you that do not know, so we did a Taco Tuesday about 2 weeks ago today. It's 2 weeks ago today, and I asked you all to help and join me. I asked you all to help and join me in wishing my Mother Exorcist, a happy birthday, and she passed away 3 days later. So it's an extremely hard time for me. I'm doing my best, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. But I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you all. Your messages were loud and clear and gratefully received. Now, let's talk about Elite Dangerous. What is going on here? There is something going on, because recently, in the past week or so, we've had a lot of conflict going on. And I had to go back and actually read and do some research to see kind of what was up. But there seems to be a kind of a pattern emerging. And it's pretty typical when you consider that the economy and the galaxy as a whole is in this post-war prosperity time where you're going to experience things like increased piracy. So those are things that we've really got to make sure that we're paying attention to as commanders, especially as system architects when we're building new locations, anticipating pirate raids and the like. And we've got something weird going on here in the Dhan system. Now, it could be Dan because I want to be fancy with it, and that it has an H, so I'm going to call it the Dhan system. But with the Dhan system danger zone, there is currently a community goal going on related to this. So if you're interested, I'm going to try to put a link in the description to the instructions and information about the community goal. But there's... Well, I'm struggling today. I'm sorry. I can't seem to clear my throat. But there's information in the article. So this article is pretty much a call to action for people who are interested in supporting the defense of the Dhan system. So we're going to talk about this. It says the governing faction of the Dhan system has called for support in fending off a spike in local piracy. And I can't remember. I wish I'd taken some notes or something, but I can't remember if it was piracy that was the last thing we were dealing with, like last week when it was a completely different system. And, piracy is so easy. It really is, especially in new systems, and then where you've got this massive expansion. So you've got this colonization effort that's undergoing right now with Brewer Corporation, and there's thousands of new star systems that are being colonized, and so resources are stretched fairly thin across that area, especially when it comes to security. And as the Empire, the Federation, and the Alliance, as they expand their areas of influence, it's going to take time to establish a reliable security infrastructure in those systems. And so what happens as a consequence of establishing that new control is that systems like the Dhan system end up losing some of their security officers, and people get reassigned and things. So you have kind of a baseline. So when it comes to security protocols, there's a baseline set up for a lot of these defense measures. The Empire will say, hey, per so many million people, you need this type of security setup. And then there's a rapid response force. There's a force that can come in the event of, say, local piracy or maybe an invasion, kind of a military response team that can come in. But in this case, they don't have enough security, and the Empire doesn't seem to have enough people to defend the Dhan system. So it's really weird what's going on right now. And my question would be, where the hell are the Imperial authorities? Where are they? What are they doing? And if it's gotten to the point where Galnet has picked up, because piracy is everywhere. Piracy happens all the time. But if it's gotten to the point where it's such an epidemic level, where are the authorities to reestablish control? Let's see what's going on. Harold Gomes, head of security for the Dhan Empire League, spoke to local reporters. It's becoming obvious that pirates are growing bolder in recent weeks. We've received alarming, frequent reports of attacks and looting throughout our system's many planetary rings, icy rings in particular. That's strange. Our security forces are overwhelmed, and the Imperial Navy is occupied in other areas. So we're asking for help. Where are they? What are they doing? What is the Empire doing that they can't come out and support and defend this? It's really strange. So this is one of the reasons that I said I think that this is potentially an emerging storyline, is the icy rings in particular. There seems to be some kind of draw. Maybe, you can use ice for a number of different reasons. There's oxygen and hydrogen generation opportunities with the stuff. So what is it about the icy rings that have the pirates interested? So it says, while piracy hotspots are not unusual, the situation in Dhan has drawn interest due to the rumors that Gouda Maya analysts have arrived in the system to track the performance of any newly released Corsair vessels in the fighting. What in the world? Okay, so that's really weird. That makes no sense whatsoever. So imagine that you become aware of a criminal organization. Let's say that you make cars, and you find out that this criminal organization is using your cars to engage in nefarious activities. Instead of helping the authorities to track down said criminal organizations, no. You track these criminals to test the efficiency of your vehicles in their operations. It's kind of along the same lines. Or, it's really weird. So maybe I have that backwards, but that's just strange. So what is it about the Corsair is the Imperial Corsair is a new ship that was recently released, and I have one. I've flown it. I think it's a nice ship. I don't think that it's the workhorse that it was portrayed to be. Because, people like Gouda Maya and everybody, they always kind of throw that out there and say, hey, our ship's the best, which that's their job. They're supposed to be promoting this stuff. But it feels balanced, but it doesn't feel like it's something I would take into battle. There's people out there that might. That's fine. I haven't looked in depth yet. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out where we're at here. But yeah, that's kind of interesting that Gouda Maya is watching the fighting and taking note of it. So there's a couple of things that could potentially cause do that. Actually, let's read the last part of this, and then I'll tell you kind of my theory, I think, of what's going on. So it says the Dhan Empire League has offered extra rewards to independent combat pilots willing to eliminate criminals and collect bounties in Dhan after registering at Kidd Station in advance. I wonder if they've got ground opportunities. I may have to go check that out. I may go to the Dhan system and do some ground operations if that's a thing. So, there seems to be a potential emerging storyline here. The Imperial Corsair was advertised very heavily inside of iced rings. Most of the promo shots and the videos were shot inside of iced rings. I'm not aware of the ship having any performance boosts inside of icy rings. That would be kind of weird, but I'm not aware of it. And so now you have increased piracy in icy rings and Gudamaya out there evaluating combat efforts in them. So yeah, it's this is an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see. I think that it's part of probably an emerging larger storyline. What we find out about piracy, maybe there's some reason. For me, it comes down to the icy rings. What is it about ice, which is everywhere, but what is it about the icy rings that has the pirates so interested? So if you're out there and you happen to come across your pirate buddy in the bar, could you please ask them, what's with the ice? Okay? Just tell us. And we won't tell anyone. Exorcist will keep it a secret. Tell us what's up with the ice. Hey, everybody, these are the Disciples. If you would like to support the work that I do here on this channel, then this is the way to do it. CommanderExorcist.tv/support, which will redirect you to my Patreon. I'd love to have you as part of the team. And like I said, it's going to be short and sweet today. I'm not going to really belabor this one. There will be a link in the description for the community goal, and that way if you want to get involved, seems pretty simple. Go to Kid Station, register yourself, and then go fight and take out some bad guys in the Dhan system, helping to defend Imperial space because my beloved Empire can't seem to respond to its own people at the moment. All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me for this edition of Taco Tuesday. I will see you next time. I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there.